When senseless acts of tragedy remind us that nothing here is promised, not one day. The show is proof that history remembers. We live through times when hate and fear seem stronger. We rise and fall and light from dying embers, remembrances that hope and love last longer. And love is 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 love, cannot be killed or swept aside.
So who says poetry's dead, right? Lin-Manuel Miranda wrote that beautiful, incredible sonnet that so captured how people were feeling in this recent time at the Tony Awards, and all to thank his wife at Sunday night ceremony. And also certainly it was used as a way that people need to think about the shootings in Orlando. So why poetry matters now is actually the topic of the latest edition of Seasons Magazine. And joining us are Deborah Berry, the editor-in-chief of Seasons Magazine, Susan Ballack from the Hillstead Museum, and poet Claire Rossini. Thank you, ladies, all for being here. Thank you.
Great to be here.
Great to be here.
This topic.
So, Deborah, let me begin with you. Tell me what we're going to find in the magazine, because a lot of people might be thinking, oh, poetry's, it's a little above me. I don't get it. And in fact, it's something we can all connect with, right?
We can all connect with it. In Seasons, you know, we're celebrating our 10th anniversary year, and we've always been committed to arts and culture coverage. And Why Poetry Matters Now is written by an award-winning writer, Lori Case. She talked to many of the headliners at the Sunken Garden Poetry Festival, and there's a beautiful quote. She actually interviewed the poet laureate of the U.S., Juan Felipe Herrera, who said, "Poetry loves the open air and is not meant to be locked up." And that's why Hillstead is such a beautiful place for this esteemed festival. So we're partners with them, and we're very, very proud of this.
And Susan, that's what's happening. Well, we can all join, and there's tell us what will happen at this poetry festival.
Well, this is the 24th annual season, and the Sunken Garden at Hillstead Museum, which is the most spectacular place. It's a multi-sensory experience to be sitting among the flowers in the open air, to be hearing live poetry and live music. We do 5 nights of poetry each summer, and this is our biggest year yet. Opening night is next Wednesday, June 22nd, and we have MacArthur Genius Award winner Heather McHugh coming. And later in the summer, we have Brian Turner, who is a U.S. Army Iraq War veteran, coming for a veterans-themed weekend on July 10th. And then we have Juan Felipe Herrera, who is the current United States Poet Laureate, a Latino poet, and the first Latino Poet Laureate of the U.S. And he's coming all the way to Connecticut just for this festival.
Wow. Well, Claire, we're honored to have you here, but that's a lot of poet muscle coming right to a Connecticut.
That's a lot of poet muscle. These are the best of the best. And I would just affirm what Deb was saying about how poetry really is something anyone can appreciate, especially the lineup that the Sunken Garden has put together this summer. Are poets who are, you know, we've got a couple of MacArthur winners, the so-called Genius Award, the laureate, people who've done extremely well in their work, but they also are poets who speak to each one of us. And the music of the language, it's the kind of poetry that you will take home with you after hearing it that night. And there's nothing, I would definitely agree with what our laureate said. I mean, there's nothing like poetry al fresco. If you're thinking the outdoors is good, poetry al fresco is a wonderful experience, and the grounds of the Hillstead are perfectly set up for this kind of experience.
Before we have to let you go, did you bring something you wanted to share with us?
Well, I did bring a poem just in case there was time, but I want to make sure there is.
Read a little bit. We have a little bit.
So this is a poem I wrote about waking up in New York City, hearing a mourning dove, that's the bird that goes doo-doo, doo-doo, and thinking of waking up in my grandmother's house in southeastern Minnesota. So maybe I'll just read
just a couple lines.
Lines. Waking, I hear its cryptic trill, and I'm back 20 years in bed at my grandmother's house on sheets scarred by her mending. Downstairs, the clock chimes. My grandmother's steps begin to trace the choreography of breakfast making. I hear my mother's voice, then her second generation laughter. And I'll just read the last 2 stanzas. The cry of the mourning dove rises over a small Midwestern town, over the prairie churning out wheat and flowers, over those sheets wherever they are, their stitches still locked in small, endless embraces, and wakens me from an older sleep, desiring to be at table between 2 large female bodies, watching the morning sun set dime store glasses afire.
Thank you so much. I'm sorry we're out of time, but there's a taste of what we can have. And of course, there's an app for that, which is available on all Apple and Android devices. So Seasons Magazine comes to you, but you can also have it on the app and join in all the beautiful poetry festivities that are taking place. Scott?
All right.